A prison in the United States holds an angry prisoner. The reason his eyes are full of murder is because his heart is full of hate. 6 months ago, Jason still had a happy family. His wife was beautiful and caring, and they looked at the future of their newborn child with expectations. But just as his wife was preparing dinner, masked bandits suddenly appeared. By the time Jason realized something was wrong, his wife was already dying. The cunning bandits sprayed LSD and fled the scene with arrogance. When Jason woke up, he found the murder weapon in his hand, and the police were coincidentally surrounding the place. This led to Jason being treated as his wife's murderer and sentenced to 50 years in prison. On Christmas night, Jason was sent to a private prison that was under 24-hour security to prevent escapes. The prison was built on the sea and had only one route in and out, as all of the prisoners were the most vicious felons with blood on their hands. This day, Jason wanted to have a quiet breakfast, but someone wanted to cause trouble. Not only did they spit on his dinner plate, but they also insulted his wife. The other person did not know they had messed with the wrong person this time. After the fight, Jason was brought before July, who controlled the entire prison and was an uncompromising dictator. In order to turn the inmates into assets, she orchestrated flying car races where death row inmates became drivers, racing modified cars to kill each other. If someone could win 5 races in a row, they would be pardoned and leave the prison. The track was littered with high-definition cameras, and the races were broadcast live to a global audience. In the previous race, a masked driver named Frank, with super strength, won 3 races in a row. However, in the 4th race, Frank suffered a mechanical failure and was mercilessly targeted by his opponents. Although he won the race, he died from serious injuries. July urgently blocked the news of Frank's death to avoid a drop in ratings. She desperately needed a strong prisoner to replace Frank and continue the competition. Jason was the perfect candidate for the job. Initially, Jason was reluctant, but Julai's offer was too good to refuse. Jason would be pardoned as long as he won the 5th race, pretending to be Frank. After the deal was struck, Jason came to the workshop in high spirits and met with the team coach and technician, Fatty. The race car was ready, with a high-powered engine that could explode with 850 horsepower. To avoid accidents, the car was also equipped with nitrogen acceleration, and the racing defense was strong with 2-centimeter steel plate bulletproof glass on the front and sides and 15 centimeters thick solid armor on the rear. The car was also equipped with smoke bombs and petrol bombs, and even 2 multi-barrel Gatling machine guns, making it a very strong performer. According to the coach, the flying car race was divided into 3 games. The first 2 games involved killing as many opponents as possible, and the 3rd game was to determine the real champion. Jason's main opponents were Chinese-American Green, Jim, former professional racing driver Colt, and Jake. July, in order to earn more money, would select hot and beautiful inmates from the women's prison to act as the racers' navigators. Jason's navigator, Keith, was even more powerful and had helped Frank many times to save the day. Facing Keith, Jason didn't want to hide his identity and took the initiative to remove his mask and start the race. As the lights began to flash, the participants looked excited. The global live broadcast was also launched, with over 45 million people paying to watch. Jason took the lead with the floor gas, and the rest of the team quickly sprinted off. The pack started to rage, and Jason soon lost his position. Coming in 4th, Keith calmly ordered a shortcut, and Jason hit the gas at the intersection to regain the lead. The race entered its 2nd lap, and July triggered the sensors, causing gunfire, smoke bombs, napalm, and traps. Jason, inexperienced in his first race, failed to activate the weapons and was caught by the enemy behind his car, who fired wildly with Gatling machine guns. However, the enemy's driving skills were poor, and Green was able to take advantage and catch up. Green was looking at Colt, who didn't want to be killed and took a dangerous route to escape the steel spikes and launch a counterattack. Green was unable to dodge a flat tire and lost control of the car, which began to roll. 14K saw the opportunity and sent a missile, blowing the car away and crashing to the ground. Green climbed out of the wreckage and started to spit out the fragrance towards the camera, but the next second he was blown to pieces. In the final lap, Jake was equipped with a giant Gatling and Colt was stalking Jason. Jason's armor was in tatters. He asked Keith to unload the petrol bomb and use the passenger's ejector seat to pop it high, causing the oil to cover the entire car. Before Colt could react, Case had already thrown in a cigarette lighter, and the car was instantly engulfed in flames. Jason occupied first place after a fierce struggle, but he was distracted by Jim's provocative gesture, which was the same as his wife's murderer. Jake took advantage of the situation and hit Jason hard, causing him to finish in sixth place. Jason was so horrified by the race that he refused to participate again, but July threatened him with a photo of his child, forcing him to compromise. That night, Jason went to the workshop in anger to confront Jim, but he was caught off guard and tied up. Jim was about to kill Jason with a wrench when Fatty arrived in time and started to fight back. Jim was forced to reveal the truth behind his wife's murder. The company's main business was to provide a wide range of products and services to the market. Unfortunately, a prison guard appeared and electrocuted Jason to save Jim. The second race was held as scheduled, and Jason drove into an abandoned workshop instead of rushing to the starting line. He threatened to eject Keith and uncovered a larger conspiracy involving July, who had ordered Keith to keep Jason from winning the race and keeping him in prison for greater gains. In return, July would sign a decree to release Case, but now Keith had no choice but to cooperate. Jason turned on the nitrous acceleration and returned to the track, but he no longer aimed for first place. Instead, he set his sights on Jim, his wife's killer, and fired on all cylinders. Jim and Jason started shooting at each other until Jim activated a smoke grenade. Jim was blocked from view by the smoke, and Jason was able to reverse his car and return. Meanwhile, July, in an effort to make the race more exciting, sent out a big killer called the Dreadnought. The Dreadnought was equipped with heavy firepower and started pouring ammunition on the riders. The flames caused 2 drivers to die, and the Dreadnought was also equipped with a replenishment device, making it impossible to escape once the tires were punctured. In the face of the thick cannon, the 14T could only die of hatred. The 2 of them are forced to overtake the car and drive through the skeleton to activate the trap, with the goal of killing Jason. They plan to plant a bomb on Jason's racing car. That night, Jason reaches out to Jake with a daring plan. The third race arrives and July will stop at nothing to prevent Jason from winning. She controls the sensor system and directs all resources to Jake, who uses the equipment to attack Jason and pierces his tail armor. Jason takes a risk by removing his shield, but Jake reacts quickly and fires a series of rockets, not at Jason's car, but at the prison wall to create an escape route. They then break out of prison together, but July discovers that they were acting and detonates the explosives in a fit of fury. The bomb has been defused, however, and Jason uses a spare fuel tank to stop the pursuing police cars. The helicopter gives chase, but Jason covers for Jake and lures it to the pier before jumping off the car. Keith, who has already been granted a release order, helps Jason and Jake rendezvous and escape by train. Meanwhile, July learns of Jason's capture and the ratings skyrocket. She opens a gift on the table and is surprised by its contents. 6 months later, Jason and Jake appear in Mexico and open an auto repair shop. Keith soon joins them, and Jason not only reunites with his children, but also gains new friends and love. This is the end of the movie, Death Race, a highly explosive action film featuring Jason Statham. If you're a fan of Jason, you won't want to miss this film. See you next time.